first step in sketching a canoe is to lay down the keel. It'll be the basic reference. Figure out where the ends of it are going to be, then how wide it's going to be. I've laid this out at about a 30-degree angle. I'm shaping the ends of the canoe by drawing ovals, circles if you're looking at it sideways. The next thing is to establish the width and the height of it at midships. Just do that with a little rectangle here. Draw the lines a little bit longer than they really need to be. Just have them straight. The lines where the sides are going to pass through, the gunnels are going to pass through the side. I'm drawing lines going fore and aft. Because it takes a different shape as it gets closer to the ends, I'm putting another set of reference, kind of a reference frame in here, as if it were a frame you were constructing the canoe on. The points here along the gunnel, I just follow the line, draw a curve passing from one through the other. When they're at the midships here, they're headed right back parallel to the keel, then pass through the last one, and then have to curve up to meet the point at the high end of the circle. Do the same thing on the other side. These are the points. And pull that line through, passing through those points, and then it has to rise up a little bit at the end. It's kind of a nice curve. It's oftentimes easier to turn the page upside down and use the geometry of your hand rotating to get a better curve. The curve is on the end here. I'm going around that circle, sort of reinforcing that outside of the circle. That gives the end of the canoe. That's why you do the circles. On the edge of those, just tucking the rounding off the square corners on those frames. Now that creates a horizon. The line's going to pass through those points. Again, I'll turn it upside down. Pass through those points, or through those surfaces, from one end to the other. Now that's given us the shape of the side of the canoe. When you're sketching, you're drawing sometimes several lines, and then you choose the best one. So erasing is a big part of getting the image right. So I'm just kind of reinforcing and correcting some of these lines to get the shape. Now, if this were an aluminum canoe, you'd almost be done at this point. But since it's going to have ribs, I'm just going to ticking off some numbers here, some checks here that'll give a guide for the ribs. If I wanted to be very careful, I would measure those off to be of equal size. I'm just doing this kind of loosely, so that's just a guide. I'm running a line down through the middle now, just to kind of get a sense of where that shear line is in relationship to those frames in the middle. Much of this is going to be erased. Okay. I'm going to put some thwarts in. And again, you can kind of measure these off. Depends on the canoe, depends on the design or whatever. If you're designing it, you put them wherever you want. Put a seat in the back. Notice those left ends of the seat are going parallel to the keel. They're running off in that direction. Little curves on the end and kick off. Sort of reinforce these. The more you know about the design, the more you know about the details of it, you can start filling those in. The idea is to move from the simple to the complex, from the overall shape, and then fill in the details. The details have to fit inside the canister, so to speak, of that's containing it. Oh, there's a canoe. Now, it begins to really take a three-dimensional feel when you erase those guidelines. You begin to see the side. You can now see the possibilities of how you could refine this as you go through, getting rid of all of the excess, correcting some of the lines. The end sort of pulls in a little tighter. This is where you have to use your eye to say, does that look right? Is something wrong here? Is this a little bulky? Does this look lumpy? You go on correcting this forever. And again, it's oftentimes good to start with draw it lightly. I've not done that here, but to draw with a lighter line, and then as you get more confident that you're correct in where you're putting the lines, you make them darker. So I'm just sort of roughly laying out where the ribs would be. Kind of laying down how those ribs would cross the bottom, and then putting the curves in. And again, this is all a matter of how detailed you want this image to be. And how much time you have. The idea is to get the overall shape, the basic forms first, then fill in the tails. The tails have to fit inside the container of the correct shape. So the most fundamental part is getting those lines of shear in the bottom and the kind of horizons of those curves around the bilge. And again, if you draw it really large, it's easier to do this. This is a pretty small drawing. Use a sharper point. Even go over it later with a pen, kind of clarify it. The eraser is a really critical part of all of this, particularly in a sketch if you're trying to refine it. You can give yourself guidelines and then lay those down solid and you're sure what you're doing. So you can shade it, you can actually take it all, do the whole thing as a pencil drawing, finish it off here, or just say, okay, I'm done with that, and draw it in another direction. Another view. Or you can finish it off with a pen and then erase all of the extra lines. And then go on in and do with colored pencil or with watercolor or anything else you want to use to finish it. But you have the basic form, and how you finish it is essentially up to personal taste. But that's how you do it.